YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with episode 4 of my NFL Top 100 list of the 2020 through 2021 season. So based off regular season and postseason here. Few episodes already up on the channel. Today we're going through 40 through 21. So there's one more episode left tomorrow, which is Saturday, the top 20. We'll break it all down for you guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comment. Really enjoy making these. Hopefully you guys enjoy them as well. Constant NFL talk on the Twitter when news breaks. We got you covered with everything there. Sided app underneath me. There's also a link in the description comments for that. You can win Amazon gift cards by talking football. Check it out. Please subscribe. Full NFL offseason content already on the channel and more to come. Here's our Twitter. JJ Watt news broke this morning. We started going ham on that. So, yeah, we got you covered with everything that you need there. Let's recap last episode, which was 60 through 41. And, you see the players there. John Johnson, Bud Dupree, Eric Kendricks, Justin Herbert, the Rookie of the Year, Trey Hendrickson, Darius Leonard at 55, Calvin Ridley, Mike Evans, Brian Burns, Roquan Smith, Mario Davis, couple off-the-ball linebackers here. Hassan Reddick, Tyrann Mathieu, Khalil Mack, Aaron Jones, Za'Darius Smith, a lot of Packers, Dwayne Brown, Ryan Tannehill, Eldon Jenkins, another Packer, DeForest Buckner, 41. That's recapping the last episode. Again, all these episodes up to this point are already on the channel. Now we're going 40 through 21, so a lot of the big guns here. Number 40, Justin Jefferson, with a ridiculous rookie season, breaking Randy Moss's record from his own team, breaking the all-time record for rookie receiving yards in Anquan Bolden. These types of receivers they're taking over, and they're changing the game. They're changing the draft. They're training, not even the draft, the offseason, I think. They're really changing the game. These receivers that they win off footwork, pure footwork and route running, and that gains the separation. If they have the hands, the contested catch, the speed, the run after catch. He's ridiculous run after catch too. The guy, pretty thin frame, just how many tackles he breaks is pretty ridiculous. But I think they changed the game because I think teams are looking for those style receivers. Just number one is footwork. That's just in separation, kind of go together. That's just number one. Can they understand zone coverages? He can. Another thing, part of it. And I think teams rather, instead of paying those veteran receivers, 18 whatever million a year, they rather go draft one of these new school type of guys. So I think guys like Justin Jefferson really changed the game. Total package type of receiver to fit today's era, but also would have succeeded in any era. So yeah, ridiculous season. Basically outplaying Adam Thielen, pretty ridiculous, and filling Stefon Diggs' shoes, also ridiculous. So, the Vikings got a good one there. He comes in at 40. 39, Bobby Wagner, so another ridiculous season for Bobby Wagner. We're seeing how many players played at a very high level this year, because you're seeing Bobby Wagner at 39, which is a good ranking still. But, the Seahawks defense was atrocious early on, and it really started to pick it up. When it started to pick it up, I thought they used Bobby Wagner blitzing more, getting him involved and getting pressure. I think that opened things up. It's obviously very good stop and run and in coverage as well. So this is another really good season, obviously, for Bobby Wagner there. Off-the-ball linebackers had a ridiculous year. 38 is going to be Jason Pierre-Paul. Heck of a season for him. Productive through the regular season, but this is based off playoffs and Super Bowl as well. And obviously, he definitely helped his case through that, because another ridiculous performance then. Constantly getting pressure, forcing fumbles, making big-time plays, getting those sacks. We see in the Super Bowl, they were kind of having him rush inside too, so you see the versatility of him and how key of a piece he is for their team and for the game plan on the opposite side. You got to worry about a guy like Jason Pierre-Paul, so monster season from him. And he was a big-name guy too way back. Like, this is a big-time pass rusher, and then there was a gap there on the Giants where he was like, what happened to Jason Pierre-Paul? And now he's kind of just revived, and he's a ridiculous player. So that's good to see. 37, Joel Bitonio, one of the better guards on the season, was very consistent. I thought was the best piece to the Browns' offensive line there, just not letting anything by him. Obviously dominant in the run game too. So I think equally effective. That's the offensive lineman that I value. These guys that maybe number one in pass protection, but maybe they're not as great in terms of the run blocking. But Bitonio is pretty much at the top in both categories, so you got to appreciate that key piece of that Browns' success this year, specifically their offensive line. 36 going to be A.J. Brown. the Titans receiver. Yeah, another one of those receivers that are taking over the game. Can play in the slot, can play outside, crazy footwork, just knows how to get the separation. Maybe the best in football after the catch, too, and that's big time, getting those extra yards. Just a home run hitter. When you need a big-time play, you got Derrick Henry, but when you need a big-time play through the air, third down, he'll get that first and some. So I thought he did that constantly. It was just so big for them. So he's another young receiver that teams are looking to add, like him, that is climbing up the ranks, in the NFL here. So he's at 36. 35, Stefon Tuitt at him. Good things happen when Stefon Tuitt stays healthy, because he's had his injuries throughout his career, and we knew how good he was, but people start to forget how good he is because you're so used to him getting injured. Unfortunately, nothing ever that major for the most part. But yeah, just stayed healthy this year and was absolutely dominant in every phase, getting after the quarterback. He's not really an edge rusher either, so getting after the quarterback at an extremely high level from a 3-4 defensive end position and stopping a run at a high level. He was a terror for teams. Just dominant, big reason why the Steelers had one of the better defense in football. Super productive season for him. 34, same style player, same position. Leonard Williams from the Giants had an absolute monster season and was better down the stretch as well. So if he played, and he played well the entire season, complete season, but if he played, at the insane level that he was playing on the second half of the season, the entire season, I mean, you're talking about defensive player of the year, maybe, up there. So ridiculous year for him. Was a top prospect out of USC, and we expected great things right away. I think we saw those great things, and all of a sudden he disappeared for a while. Like, still a solid player, but nowhere near, where we thought Leonard Williams would be. The Giants They trade for him. He's still he's solid, but he's a little underwhelming. But now, under the franchise tag, just that is the Leonard Williams that we remember and some. So ridiculous season for him. Excited about where he's heading, kind of getting back on track. I hope he's back with the Giants, because since he's back on track in that role, I kind of want that. And we'll see if a second franchise tag or a long-term deal comes into play here in the offseason. So he's at 34, big-time season for him. 33 is going to be DK Metcalf. Monster season for him. Much better in the first half of the year, but, I mean, he was looking like the best receiver in football for a chunk there. But yeah, just so dominant, downfield getting separation, but in that contested catch, red zone, whenever they needed a big play, another big playability guy that came up clutch. So yeah, he had a ridiculous season. The Seahawks offense went a little cold, so maybe he went down a little bit as the season went on, but just another, monster season. See the Ole Miss receivers popping up, two different styles, and yeah, just excited about these young receivers going forward. 32 is going to be Jesse Bates, the third, who I thought was the best safety in football, free safety for the Bengals. Played a lot of single high, free, pretty much put out there in center field and just made plays back there. Super instinctive, really knows how to read the quarterback's eyes. He's a playmaker. He's one of the best in football at that position. He's only getting better too, so really excited, about him. Yeah, I thought he took over games, with his ability to read, quarterback's eyes. I think the Titans game, the Bengals upset the Titans. I thought he was a big piece. That's just one example of a game like that. So really excited about where he's headed. Definitely, you think of the best free safety, could be the best safety at any given time, any year there. So, and he's still young, getting better. Bengals in general getting better to help his game out even further as well. 31 is going to be Chris Jones. Stone Cold Jones, yeah, we know how dominant he is. We can almost expect him a little higher in this. We would expect him. So maybe not quite there, but there's just so many good players that puts him at 31. But another dominant season with getting constant pressure on the interior, also stopping the run. So going into a year, I kind of expect him better than 31, but yeah, it's still a really, really good season for him, and we expect a lot more of those to come. 30 is going to be Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's so valuable to that team, all around. You throw in his running ability, it's just absolutely ridiculous. People kind of get on him, and people don't like, people that rank Lamar Jackson high, but I'm a big fan of Lamar Jackson just because, that Browns game at the end of the year is just absolutely ridiculous. It's just one example. You see how valuable he is. You talk about value to a team, and he's just such a problem. And I think he can throw better than people give him credit for. He's not a passer like Mahomes and, Aaron Rodgers, guys like that. So I don't think anybody's trying to say that, but just how much of a problem he is, how he can take over games, and how valuable he is. And he showed that again down the stretch of the season. He really got going second half of the season. So he's at number 30 for me. 29 is going to be DeAndre Hopkins. Another big-time season for him. You see how good he is, even with another team like the Cardinals. I mean, how many sideline, out routes to DeAndre Hopkins were there this year? Yeah, teams had to know it was coming because it constantly happened, and they still couldn't stop it, really. So, another monster season for him. Had that Hail Mary to go along with it as well. He racked up the yards for sure. There's a lot of receivers that had a bunch of yards and didn't have too much touchdowns, and there's some receivers that had all the touchdowns and didn't have the yards. So that was weird. We saw that a lot this year. But, excited to watch more of him with Kyler Murray as Kyler Murray continues to grow here as a passer. So Hopkins at 29. 28 is going to be Ali Marpet, the old Division III offensive lineman guard from the Buccaneers. Good to see a Division III guy work out there. Absolutely dominant season. One of the very best guards in football. We saw that further on in the season to the postseason as well. Playoff, Super Bowl. Dominant run blocker. Big reason why, maybe not the biggest names in today's game like Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones are able to take off, but didn't let anything by him as well as a pass protector from the interior. Especially against Tom Brady, interior pressure forces quarterbacks to have to roll out very early in the play, in the rep, and that's something that you really, that's key. You got to protect that quick trip to the quarterback for Tom Brady, especially at his age, his ability to, he can actually move and roll out, but that's kind of number one objective there, and he's just such an important piece. Did a good job at that, an elite job at that. So he's at 28. 29, David Bakhtiari, the best tackle in football on the year. And you see the difference, without him. He didn't get to play in the playoffs because the injury before Week 17 in the NFL. And a big reason that the Packers got outplayed the Buccaneers was because, in the NFC Championship game, was because the pass protection wasn't really there. The pressure was just winning. The defensive pressure was just winning. So having Bakhtiari could have been key. You see how important he is, but before he got hurt, just an absolute dominant season there once again, protecting Rodgers, and then important in getting downfield and blocking for his teammates once the ball is past the line of scrimmage. 26 is going to be Shaq Barrett. Yeah, he definitely helped himself with the monster postseason there. Really good regular season once again as well. Last year he had a load of sacks, insane amount of sacks. And you look at his pressure rate, it doesn't really match, so he kind of really good season, but he kind of, fed off other people's creation for the most part, even though he was really productive, earned the sacks. This year was like kind of the opposite. He had the pressures. He didn't have as many sacks to match that. Still very productive. Came up in big moments, and you see the postseason just absolutely dominated every category. Was a key piece to winning the Super Bowl. So another monster season for him. What a gem they found a couple years ago. Was just a rotation guy for the Broncos, and now just a big-time stud. A free agent. I think the Buccaneers would like to get him back. Probably happens. 25 is going to be Marlon Humphrey of the Ravens. Cornerback, absolute lockdown cornerback here. I talked about Marcus Peters. The cornerback position is so important. They value it so much in Baltimore. Some teams don't value it that much just because of scheme and what else they have. The Ravens want to run a lot of man covers. They want to bring the safeties up in the box. They want to blitz a lot. And you have to have damn good man corners there that you can stick on an island and feel comfortable with, and the Ravens feel more comfortable than anybody out there because they have some damn good corners, like a young Marlon Humphrey who's getting better and better. Extremely physical, extremely sticky in coverage. Can come up and make those plays in the run game as well, force those fumbles in the big moments. And you can see him if he has to move around from the slot to the outside to cover maybe the best receiver on the field, he can do that. So dominant year for Marlon Humphrey, really bright future. And it really has already broken out maybe a year or two ago even. So he's at 25. 24 is going to be Myles Garrett. Missed some time there, but the impact he makes. He had the production as well. Has the potential to have an insane amount more production. But the Browns defense, definitely not the best defense, especially on paper. They're really not as a defense as a whole. They're really not as good as what they played. And that sounds crazy, but that's because of a guy like Myles Garrett getting that pressure, forcing bad quarterback decisions, getting that strip sack at the right time. So he really helped the rest of that team, that next level of the defense. So if he stays in the field 100% of the time, this guy, we're talking about elite, possible defensive player of the year at any given season. So he's at 24. 23, Fred Warner, ridiculous season. He kind of broke out last year, And last year he was great, easily a top 100 player, but he still had those moments where a young linebacker took some interesting angles. I remember specifically last year when they played the Cardinals, that those things came up. But this season, I thought he put together a complete dominant season as a linebacker, as a whole, every category of a linebacker. But how good and dominant was he in coverage, covering guys in the slot, just absolutely locked down. It felt like he was running routes for the receiver or the target at times and step in front of the plays. Look at, I think the Patriots game was one that stood out. That's like elite corner type stuff right there. So ridiculous season for Fred Warner. Really excited about him moving forward, of course. 22, Darren Waller, not too long ago. Majority of the world didn't even know who the hell Darren Waller was. Now he's just a dominant force on the Raiders offense. Second best tight end in football here this year. Top 3 obviously every single year. Just so dominant. When he starts taking over, like he's really taking over, it's so hard to stop. It was quite a few games in there like that. They really had to rely on him to. Other guys stepped up too, like Nelson Aguilar, but they really had to, really get going. He had to really pick up the offense there. Whether it was downfield, underneath. Defense had to switch up who was covering him at times, and nothing was working because he can outrun you. He'll out physical you. He'll can make that contested catch downfield, wherever it is. So absolutely dominant season, and just it still feels like we got more of Darren Waller to come because he's just getting started. When he came out of Georgia Tech, tight end, is he a receiver? You didn't really know what he is, kind of both. So really excited about him as well. And 21 is going to be Russell Wilson, the Seahawks quarterback. The way he started the year, the first, 5 games or so, looked like number 1 on the list, and then it kind of went downhill a little bit. It's weird because he's at 21, but there's really no part of the season he was playing like the number 21 player. First, like I said, 5 or so games, 4, 5, 6 games, looks like number 1. And then, second half of the year, there was times where he didn't really play good. The offensive line didn't help him. There's a lot of sacks that I did put on him, holding the ball too long and stepping into sacks. So it was really, you go from one extreme to another there with him, but obviously a dominant quarterback, still viewed as an elite quarterback. Anytime, you go into a season with Russell Wilson, you have a chance to win the Super Bowl. Of course, you're a contender. Just want more consistency, and I want them to get an offensive line for once, because then we can kind of get the full thing here, from Russell Wilson and company. So, really excited to see if they actually do that. Because I've been kind of getting on them for most off seasons, for not going out and doing that, getting the rest of the roster better. So let's see if they do it. It's easier said than done because you got the cap to deal with. But yeah, looking like the clear shot MVP to start the year. And I think just like that, he can kind of go back to playing like that. I don't think that would be a surprise at all. Comes in at 21 here. And that'll do it for this episode. One more episode to see the top 20 players. If you know your stuff and you've been doing your homework, been watching all these videos, you probably know who those 20 players are. So it's just a matter of putting them in order here. And in the last episode, we'll recap all the players we talked about, we ranked so far, to keep everyone caught up and memory refresher there as well. But that's going to wrap up this episode. Again, one more episode left. We have all kinds of NFL offseason content on the channel and a lot more to come. Even in free agency, we grade every single signing, everything. We got NFL draft coverage, everything. We got more content than anybody. So smash that like button, subscribe, and check out our Twitter. It's an absolute must follow if you're a Goat House or NFL fan. Link in the description, comments for anything you need. It's going to do it for this one, though. Thanks everyone for watching. Goodbye.